Alright, so this is going to be part 2 to what if Asta had sunshine. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
They took it to 10.
Let me tell you how I come through with the 1-2, kicking shit like kung fu. Treat a bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, little hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the raw fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, so before we get into the what if, I like to say that it seems like you guys really like this series. From what I could tell from last episode, you guys wanted a lot. You wanted like a second part pretty soon, right? So that's why I'm making this video. And I like to say this kind of quick announcement. A lot of the comments, there's a couple comments that are like being reported as spam. So if your comment is like removed, just know I didn't do it, and if it is, tell me and I could approve it, because last time I checked there was like around 30 something comments that were marked as spam, and like a lot of them are just like saying that they like the video, or they're just like suggestions for what if, and I don't know why it's like marked for spam. So if it is, like, let's say you look through your comments and I don't know if you could see it or not, if it's like marked as like if you don't see your comment there, then you could just tell me, and I could just approve the comment, right? And last episode, I asked you guys what spells he should have, and I got a lot of suggestions, so we're gonna see more spells in this one. And I would like to also say that we're almost at 600 subscribers, so I don't know if I'll do anything for 600, but I might. And I was also thinking of doing this idea for this what if, like when Asta goes to the dungeon, I was thinking that he could get something in the dungeon that would like kind of split his grimoire in a way that like halfway through his grimoire it would be like a chapter 2, and that would be like, it would be the opposite of his magic. Instead of like sunshine, or not sunshine, sunlight magic, it'd be moonlight magic. So he would be able to use moonlight magic at night, but they both versions of him, like the daytime and the nighttime, would be able to use both magics. It's just that in the daytime he would be better at sunlight, and at night he'd be better at moonlight magic. And the different ways in how the the spells would work, like his fighting style would change, obviously, because during the day he'd be more up close and personal, things like that, but I think at night he'd be more distant because he's not as physically strong. So if you guys like that idea, I'll put a poll and you guys can tell me. And then like the kind of elements that moonlight magic would be made out of would be light, and then I think water, since it would be the opposite of sunlight. So it'd be, instead of light and fire, it's light and water. And there could be a lot of like freezing attacks instead of like heat attacks. So if you guys like that idea, again, I'll put a poll. So yeah, last time we left off, so this is the actual what if. So last time we left off with Asta just getting accepting the Black Bull's offer, and they're actually going to the Black Bull's hideout. So when they get out of the portal, Asta would see this place, and I said last time that his personality is different than Escanor at night. Instead of being like shy and timid, he's more cold and distant. And I read a comment saying, talking about Escanor's like personality, and that like when he's in like the day form, he doesn't feel any love or for anything, he only feels pity. And what I like to say to that is that I'm pretty sure he still feels love. Like that's his like character with like Merlin, right? That's always their interaction, that he loves her, right? And I'm pretty sure he still have love for his friends, because like scenes like the one with like him versus the two commandments, the giant and the fairy, where he talked about the sin of playing with other people's hearts and like things like that, and the Esterosa fight, where he said like he only pities people that are weaker than him. He doesn't say anything about not loving. So again, I don't know, just tell me how you like the nighttime personality and I'll change it Like there was only one comment about that. So as Asta is looking at the base, he says, "Wow, this looks really run down because all the like different parts of the buildings are like misplaced and things like that." Because I don't know if I should spoil it, but like it's like people in the anime are already caught up to what I'm talking about. But I guess if people haven't seen that show that far, I guess it would be a spoiler. I don't know. But anyways, we would, they would, I think Asta would not like run to the door like he does in the anime and be really excited. I think he would just walk in normally, announce his presence, like, and I think he'd be more, people would notice him more since he's a lot taller and buffer, and they might mistake him for Yami. Or he's not that, since it's nighttime, he's not buff, but he's somewhat tall. He's like around Yuno's height, maybe a little bit taller, a little bit shorter, I don't know. So he would basically say, or I guess in this one he wouldn't really announce himself since it's at night and his personality is different. He would basically say like, "Hey, I'm Asta from Hot Village. Looks like I'm joining your squad." And that's all he would say. And he would just like lean against the wall as Yami and Finral walk through the door. And Magna and Luck are still fighting at this point. So Yami would hit the side of the wall telling them to stop breaking stuff, just like he does in canon. And Yami would say like, "This is the new recruit, Asta." And, or I guess before that, Magna would go up to Yami and ask him like, "Is there any arrogant like rookies this year so I could teach him a lesson?" And Yami would say, "Yeah, he's right there," and he would point to Asta. And Magna would be like, "Oh yeah, kid, you think you're so much better than us? How about we, do our traditional baptism by fire?" And I think Asta would just shrug his shoulders like, "Sure, right." And this is when Finral would kind of like try to break the tension and try to introduce everyone. He would introduce Gordon, Ghosh, Magna, Vanessa, Charmy, Gray, himself, and then Yami. I think that's everyone. Oh, and Luck. So, I don't think Asta would give him that much of a introduction for himself. So they would get straight to the baptism. And for the physical parts, I think he would barely be able to do it. Like, not anywhere near as he could in the canon. But he would be barely able to do it right. For the magical part where he has to dodge everything, at this point he doesn't have that moonlight magic unlocked yet. Like, even if you guys want that, right? So he's like, for the like scatter shots that he does, I think he'd be able to dodge it pretty easily. And for the what's it called, death firebolt shot or something like that, I think this is a comment, like this was one of the spells that people were commenting for this, and I think it'd be good for this situation. And the spell that the person what's it called, commented was something called Solar Singularity. And what it does is it's basically like Yami's black hole, where it sucks up magic. It's kind of like that, but it's his sunlight magic. And I was thinking that the sunlight magic should have things like what I would refer to follow-ups, followed by, like how Escanor does, like he'll do like a cruel sun followed by pride flare. So I was thinking that Solar Singularity could be followed by something called red dwarf, and that could be followed by supernova, and that could explode the giant, the red, not red dwarf, I mean red giant. It could explode the red giant, and this could create like a white dwarf, which, if you don't know how like supernovas work in real life, it could either, when a red giant explodes, it could either become a black hole or a white dwarf. So yeah, I was thinking about something like that. If you guys are interested, in tell me in the comments below. But yeah, basically, as the projectile is getting closer, Asta would like take out his grimoire, and it'd be kind of heavy for him since he's not buff. He would just open it up and be like, sunlight magic, solar singularity, and that would just redirect the shot towards it and kind of absorb it. And Finral was waiting to like kind of save Asta, and he would tell the Tsunami like, wow, that's the first time in a while that we didn't need to save the rookie. Magna would be kind of mad. He'd be like, what the heck was that? You snuffed out my flames like it was nothing. And Asta would kind of like put his hand on his neck and kind of crack it and be like, yes, it's my magic. What'd you expect? You thought that was gonna hit me? And I think Magna would kind of be mad, but at the same time, he just got like a really powerful like teammate. So he has mixed feelings on this. So he would get the Magic Knight's coat, or not coat, robes, I think it's called. And Vanessa would, use her thread magic to like drop it on him, and put that emblem on his like headband. And Asta would be like, can I get a bigger one of these? Because when Asta becomes buff, it's not gonna really work, or it's not gonna really fit. And Vanessa would be surprised, and she would say, how come? And I think Asta would use some of his like stored up energy. Or at first, this is what he would do. He would use sunlight creation magic, divine axe Rita. And this is the kind of object that would let him, or his like creation magic that would let him use some of his energy that he has stored up. And the axe itself can store up energy independently from him, but he would need to have it out during the day for it to kind of absorb energy, right? And seeing this like kind of scrawny, somewhat tall like kid become like this muscle bound like behemoth of a man out of like in a few seconds, they would be very surprised. And I think Vanessa would kind of like gawk over Asta because of this, and maybe Charmy, but I don't think so. And Luck would be like pretty happy, like, wow, we have such a strong opponent, let's fight, let's spar. And Asta would like, since he's still confident because he has that sunlight energy going through him, or sunshine, he'd be like, he would say something similar to how people reacted to his like grimoire. He would say, you're witnessing the form of perfection, so it's understandable that you'd be staring for so long. And after that, he would just like snuff out the flame of Rita, the axe, and he would just transform back into his like weaker version of himself. So after that was done, we would get to the point where Asta or Magna would show Asta to his room, and Asta would be still excited to have his own room, since he's never really had his own room because he lives in a church as an orphan. So he Magna would tell Asta that he should write to the church for being, because he doesn't want them to worry, right? And Asta would be like, yeah, I understand, because this is still his other personality. So he would write to Sister Lily and the priest, and he would tell him that he just got to he would tell him his experience and how like everyone at the Magic Nights rose their hand, and he chose the Black Bulls to make a statement. And they'd be like, kind of like, how do I explain this? They think that would be a dumb move, since he could have been part of the best squad in the country, which is the Golden Dawn, or at least the top 3, right? So we would get it to the next day, and this is the point where Asta and Magna showing him around the building and showing him the different chores. And obviously this is when Asta's in the daytime, so he's very buff, right? So he's able to do most of the chores without breaking his sweat, even like feeding the beast, right? Because they don't want to go near him since he has so much magical power. And I think for the power scale, I think he'd be around, when it's in daylight, he'd probably be like high captain tier, like high captain. And then when he's like at night, he's probably around vice captain or low vice captain tier. And then when he's at noon, I think he's able to probably rival the best captain, which at this point would probably be Fuegoleon. But yeah, I guess that's a little bit of power scaling. But I don't know. Maybe during the day he's like mid tier captain level, and then at noon he's like high tier. So after a while, they go to walk to the back, or yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, they walk towards the front of the hideout, and this is when they actually meet Noel. And Asta still being that kind of cheery, prideful version of himself. But this is at sunset, so he's not as buff and not as arrogant, I guess. So he'd be like, and he would go up to Noel, and he's like a lot taller than her, right? So he's like towering over her, and he'd be like, hello, my name is Asta from Hodge Village. I'm the newest member of the Black Bulls. Noel wouldn't shake his hand because of here's the scenario, right? She would say like, what is a noble like you doing here in the Black Bulls, the worst squad? And Asta would be like, noble? Such words don't have meaning to me. Everyone, maybe those words would have had meaning if I didn't exist, or prior to my existence, but no longer. That is no longer the case. I am the pinnacle of all magical beings in this world, and I am what you refer to as a commoner, right? And she would be like, a commoner? How's that possible? You have so much magic. And like his physical appearance like makes her doubtful as well, since he's very tall and muscular for a commoner, because obviously commoners don't have I would say like enough food to like gain those type of muscles, or at least the right foods, I guess, if you were to take this realistically. And Asta would continue, it must be your lucky day. Noel, was it? I am what you call a prodigy. I am I'm going to become the Wizard King in the future, sooner probably than later. So it was nice to meet you. It was nice to meet you, right? And Asta would start walking away, and she would be like, "Don't ignore me. I am a royal." And Asta would kind of laugh. "A royal, huh?" And he would like point his finger like in the air, just like Escanor does. And he would say like, "Haven't you heard anything I've been trying to tell you? Those words have no meaning to me." And he would do like a miniature cruel sun, and someone was telling me a name I should give it, and he was like sunset, I think. Sunset sun, but I don't think that sounds nice, so I'm gonna change it to setting sun. So he has like a small setting sun, and like things around it would start to like heat up, and he would be like, "You see this? This is the clear difference between me and someone of what you would say royalty." And he would like snuff out the flame, and he would continue, and like Noel would try to shoot him with a magical water ball, but obviously it would just like turn and like probably hit Magna, right? If that's possible. So I don't think Noelle would have the idea of leaving the Black Bulls, but she would still try to train in the front yard, just how she did in the anime. So Asta would still find himself outside because he was looking for the bathroom, right? So he would go up to the front, and he would hear or he would see like an explosion come near him. That was the water that like fell from the sky. So he tries to go to the source of it, and when he gets there, he sees Noelle, and basically he sees her trying to shoot this tree, but it keeps missing. And this is when Nero goes on to like Asta and starts rustling the leaves around him, and this is what catches Noelle to Asta's location. And she's thinking of all the stuff that's happened in her past, how she's been ridiculed and things like that, and how Asta was talking to her yesterday, and she can't take it, so she tries to shoot him, and the magical power that she had actually backfires because she can't control it, and actually wraps herself around herself and becomes that kind of like giant water ball thing. And everyone in the Black Bulls can sense this, so they all go outside and they go and check what's happening, right? So they would be like, "We can't use magic, any like offensive magic, because it's gonna hurt her. Hey Finro, can you use your spatial magic to get her?" And he would be like, "What are you talking about? There's no way I'm gonna go near that thing." And he Yami would be like, "Huh, if only we had someone that could absorb magic somehow." And this is when Asta comes flying by, but not, he was like getting he was basically like thrown, but he wasn't really hurt. He just kind of let it happen. And he'd be like, "Okay, kid, let's do a combination spell to get rid of this magic." And he's like, a combination spell? Alright. And basically they would combined solar singularity with black hole, and they would create either, I guess it would be called combination magic, black solar singularity, or I was thinking like black sun singularity, something like that. So they would do that, and it would basically just absorb all the magic that was surrounding Noelle. And she would look at Asta, and she was just waiting for the ridicule And Asta, instead of being like making fun of her, he would be like why are you so sad? Don't you know that every like compared to me, everyone has a weakness, so it doesn't matter if you have a few more, right? And she would kind of be like, what? I thought you hated nobilities and royals. And Asta would be like, I think we've had a misunderstanding. I have no hatred for those who are weaker than me. I only feel pity. Right? And Noelle would be confused by this, right? And Magna would be like, if you had that kind of weakness, why didn't you just tell us, right? This is what we're here for. We're here to support each other and make ourselves stronger and protect the country. So the next day would come around and Noelle would ask Asta, like, how come your physical appearance changes depending on the daytime? And Asta, since it's the morning, you'd still be buff and things like that. He'd be like, well, it's my magic. And again, he would have his finger in the air. My sunlight magic. It makes me incredibly powerful during the day, but weaker at night. And that's always how it's been ever since I could remember, right? And Noelle would be like, wow, that's a strange kind of magical ability. And later on, Magna and Yami would come by and they would tell him that they lost at poker from the chief of Saucy Village. Yeah, I believe it's called Saucy Village. So he would basically say that we've been recruited, or what they bet was to do one thing that they want, and that one thing that the villager chief wanted was to kind of get hunt down the boar that's around the village. So Asta, Noelle, and Magna are getting ready to go, but Noelle tells them that there's no way I could find a broom because I can't control my magic. And Asta would be like, don't worry about that. And he would open his grimoire and be like, sunlight magic, Apollo's chariot. Apollo, like his chariot. Well, basically in Greek mythology, he's the one who like carries the sun around on his chariot. So it would make sense, and I got that from a comment. And Magna would be like, wow, that's a sick ride, right? Because how his like broom is like kind of tricked out and stuff like that. So I think they would all go on his chariot, and he would tell Asta like, I didn't know you had this kind of magic. You should have told us from the beginning. And I think the chariot would be really fast, since it would be pulled by like 4 different horses, like it is in mythology. So they would get there faster than they do in like normal. So they would get there, and they would it'd be no contest in this one, because Asta would just use. He'd be like, cruel sun, right? Sunlight magic, cruel sun. He would just like throw his like cruel sun throughout the boars, and they would be cooked instantly. So he would, instead of taking like wild or like freshly like hunted meat, he would bring to the village what's it called? He would bring him cooked food, right? And I would say that they would meet up with the Eye of the Midnight Sun before they reached the village, because of how fast the chariot was. So they would see this guy make like boars in the woods turn into ice. So he'd be like really confused. So they would go up to him and say, what do you think you're doing here? What's with these different robes, and why are you turning these boars into icicles, right? I think that Magna would have said that. So, as he says that, the main mage, the leader that's there, would check his pocket watch and says, I can't have you being here. You're gonna take off my schedule off minutes, right? So he would tell his lackeys to kind of dispose of him. So one of them would use ice magic, while the other uses mist magic or whatever, or frog magic. And right when they're about to hit Magna, this is when Asta comes in with his divine axe Rita, and he would say why are you trying to hit my my squad members? And basically the main leader would be surprised that Asta has so much magic in him, and he'd be like, listen to me, you have enough magic to join the Magic Knight squad, so why does it matter if a few villagers die, right? And he would do that speech in canon where he talks about how they're basically animals with no tools because they have simple magic and things like that. So Asta would be like, I don't think you're one to talk, because to me you're not even like a speck of dirt. You're less than that. I am strength incarnate, right? That's what he would say to them. And seeing how strong Asta is, he would tell his lackeys to go to the village without him, to kind of kill everyone that's in the village. And Asta would try to stop him, but the ice mage would try to block him with his icicles. And what happens is that Asta gets, he's like, oh, so you're the one who wants to try to face me. I'm so sorry for you. And he'd be like, for what for? And Asta would be like, for being born in the same world as mine, or being born in my world. This is when the leader actually starts to get angry, and he would be like, this arrogant kid, right? And this is when the kind of, what's it called, the underlings try to attack Noelle. And I think she would learn her spell that she learns in canon through this event, because she feels very useless, but she was able to shield herself. And as they're trying to attack her, this was when Magna would be able to get a good chance of taking them out pretty easily, since they're nowhere near the level of the leader. And Asta would just kind of be like, alright, let's just end this. And he'd be like, cruel son. And this is when he would throw it at him. And then he'd be like, followed by pride flare. And it would just blow up. And the guy would be knocked out pretty easily, because his ice magic is nowhere near the same level as Asta's magic in terms of being able to resist the heat. So the guy's down, and Asta would use his binding magic, which is another spell that you guys suggested, and it's called Sun Cage. Or, yeah, I think it was called Sun Cage. And it's just normal binding magic. So it would still go as the same way as in canon, where the main guy would use, or one of them would escape, and the main guy would use his magic item to basically kill everyone off, so they wouldn't get any information from them. So Asta would be, or Magna would be, more mad that he chose to end everyone's lives instead of giving up some information. And Asta would be like, it is a sad state of affairs for someone to decide to take other people's lives. And he would be like, let's go talk to the village and see if they're safe. So they would go there, and he would in this version the chief doesn't die, so he's still alive in this. So as a way to saying, you know, thank you for not only the boars but also saving the village, I think he would give him the magic stone, and you know, he would tell Magna like he would become a great man. And being, to our knowledge, Magna's only real father figure other than like maybe Yami, he would feel very happy to hear this from him, from someone that he's respected for so long. So I think I'll end it here. Like I said, I'll make a poll for the Moonlight magic idea. And remember, I still make other videos other than What Is. Recently I made 2 different reviews. One's about the Shield Hero and the other one's about Kaguya-sama, and both of them I talk about the manga mostly. And with the Shield Hero I do talk about how the storyline and the stuff like that. So I don't want to spoil too much, so I want you guys to watch the videos. So with that being said, this is the end of the video. So yeah,